If you've ever wondered if your hormones are to blame for why your body isn't changing in perimenopause, this episode is for you. Today, I'm breaking down 3 hormone-smart shifts that will actually move the needle forward when it comes to changing your body in perimenopause. If you're taking action, but you're not seeing the results that you want, more than likely you're feeling frustrated. And that frustration is totally valid. You're eating clean, hitting the gym, even doubling down on more cardio or fewer carbs, and yet your body still isn't changing. It's definitely not lack of effort that's holding you back from the results that you want. More than likely, you just need to make some hormone smart shifts that work with your changing body in perimenopause. Because for a lot of us, what used to work for us in our 20s and 30s just isn't cutting it anymore. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about on today's episode. But before we dive into today's episode, I do want to let you know that October 6th, I will be hosting my free 5-day Lean Physique Challenge, just 5 days to a leaner, stronger perimenopause body. Inside this free challenge, I'm going to be teaching my Lean Physique framework, which is all about decreasing perimenopausal symptoms while changing your physique in perimenopause. So here's what else is inside the Lean Physique Challenge. You'll get a clear roadmap for reaching your goals. So whether that is building muscle, losing fat, or just improving your lifestyle habits. You'll also get physique changing workouts that make you feel strong and confident. And finally, you'll get quick wins. So that way you have the motivation and proof that you can actually stick to this and see results. If you're interested in signing up for this free event, make sure that you go to the link in the show notes and reserve your spot. All right, my friend, without further ado, let's head on into today's episode, all about hormone smart shifts for building a leaner physique in perimenopause. If I can be transparent with you, the things that we're talking about today are actually things that I did just a few years ago as a personal trainer and a perimenopause coach. So if you're doing these things, don't feel bad because I did those things even as a trainer and a coach. And I will say that at the time when I turned 40, I was just starting to experience some perimenopausal symptoms. And at the time, I believed that I was going to have to do extreme things in order to see the results that I wanted, in order to get lean and to stay lean. I believed at the time I was going to have to double down on the cardio, cut out the carbs, be really strict with my diet. I believed all of these things. And to be quite honest, it did work for a while. But then I started running into issues. And I also started to see plateaus with my fat loss. And I also noticed that I was losing muscle mass. I just want to be very clear here that these are things that a lot of women don't get right, but also society makes it sound like these things are the holy grail of getting lean and staying lean. And unfortunately, these things, as our hormones start to decline, they're really just not great for our changing body, our changing hormones, and definitely not great for our metabolism either. So the first hormone shift that we're going to be talking about is shifting from prioritizing cardio and HIIT to prioritizing strength training. Here's why this is important. Too much cardio and HIIT can spike stress. It can also eat into your recovery. I know for me, if I do like stairs or a lot of running, that can actually beat up my legs pretty bad to where it's hard for me to recover and also hard to give it my all on lower body strength days. And it can also make holding on to muscle mass and also building more muscle mass more difficult. Why? Because cardio is catabolic. So meaning it can break down muscle tissue if you do too much of it. And this is especially true if you are coupling this up with a low calorie diet, if you're not consuming the right amount of calories. A lot of times I see this a lot, and I know this happened to me as well. So pair that together, you got a shitstorm. So pair the low calories with a lot of cardio and HIIT. That is going to be a shitstorm for trying to maintain muscle. But that's definitely not to say that cardio and HIIT does not have a place in your program. It totally can. But what we need to do, Let's shift from prioritizing the cardio and hit, even if you're in a fat loss phase, to focusing more on strength training. So, a big misconception in the weight loss space is when you want to lose weight, to focus more on the cardio and stop weight training. And this is absolutely not true. Please do not do that. Okay. And here's why. As you lose weight, more than likely you're going to lose a little bit of muscle mass as well. And this is actually even if you have the right amount of calories. This can also be true if you are consuming adequate protein. Whenever you lose weight, a lot of times you are going to lose lean mass. That's really just part of it. There is a lot of factors at play here. Also, genetics can play a role as well. But we do know that as we lose weight, a lot of times, yes, for most people, you're going to see a decrease in lean mass as well. So we need to be very proactive, especially if you are trying to lose weight, to keep weight training and to train heavy, to make sure that you're fatigued by the end of your set. Also, really just being consistent with weight training. And I will say being consistent doesn't mean working out 4 or 5 days a week. That is a great place to work up to. But being consistent really is just going to come down to what you can commit to and what you can be consistent with. So even just 2 strength training workouts a week is a great place to start. And then you can increase the frequency from there. But it is a big mistake to stop weight training and focus on cardio if fat loss is the goal. And I will even go as far to say that it is even more critical that you're weight training consistently if your goal is fat loss. Because even if you don't want to look jacked, at the end of the day, there's so many good benefits to building muscle. You're going to look better, you're going to look more toned, and it can also improve your metabolic health as well. And that's something that we all need, especially at this stage in life. So no matter what your goal is, if your goal is to maintain your weight, if your goal is to lose body fat, if your goal is to build more muscle, your weight training programs should essentially be the same. Always lift as heavy as you can, no matter what the goal is. If fat loss is the goal, here's what I recommend. I recommend starting a fat loss phase with your cardio very low. So meaning you don't want to go into a fat loss phase doing cardio 5 days a week, because more than likely your body is going to adapt to that. So what will happen, you're either going to have to work out more intensely with your cardio. So meaning you're going to have to, go faster, add more resistance if you're using a cardio machine, or you're going to have to go longer, or you're going to have to add more sessions. In my opinion, and also just based off of my own experience in training hundreds of women, most women are going to benefit from having their cardio very low. So just starting off with like 1 or 2 cardio sessions a week. And then as you get deeper into that fat loss phase, you can start to add more time. You can add more sessions. You can add more intensity. That way your body isn't adapting, which when your body adapts, this is when we see plateaus. So I think it's very smart to just be strategic with cardio. Use it as a tool to accelerate your fat loss, but I would not depend on cardio or HIIT to lose weight. What we want to do, we want to have a correct energy input and output, aka calories. We want to have the right amount of calories coming in while the right amount of calories are going out. So this is why it's so important to do things like be aware of how much food you're eating and also being aware of how active you are. I'm a big fan of tracking steps and tracking macros, so that way we can get that equation just right to where you're seeing steady results week after week, no matter what your goal is. And I do want to say, if you join the free 5-day Lean Physique Challenge, you will get access to the Lean Physique Challenge workouts. These workouts are meant for physique change and perimenopause. They will help you build more muscle, and what's great, you can do them at home with just a booty band and a set of dumbbells. Sign up and reserve your spot for the free 5-day Lean Physique Challenge in the show notes. All right, we're going to move on to the second Hormone-Smart shift for changing your body in perimenopause, and that is eating the right amount of calories and also having strategic fat loss phases. Okay. Probably the number one mistake I see women make when it comes to losing fat 40 plus is dropping calories too low. So let's talk about that first. So I see this all the time when I first start working with a client. We'll track for a couple weeks so we can get a baseline of how much the client is consuming. And then I will do some math. And then I will also keep in mind the average of what the client is consuming. And then with this information, based off her stats and what she's currently consuming, and also her goal, I calculate her calories. Well, a lot of times, once she starts tracking and working toward that calorie goal, what I'll see like, for example, I might tell her, hey, 1600 calories is your goal. Try to stay within 100 calories of that. So try not to drop below 15, but not going over 1700 calories. But a lot of times, what I see after checking my clients' food logs, I will discover that they're eating like 12 or 1300 calories a day. And that is actually not better than eating 1600 calories. And there's a few reasons for this. One, if you're losing weight really rapidly, that can increase the loss of lean mass. And that is something that we definitely want to hold on to as we lose weight. We want to lose body fat. We don't want to lose muscle, right? We want to lose the fat, not the lean muscle. So a lot of us, we might think in our head, like, hey, if I drop my calories further, it'll be faster weight loss, which could be true. But also, if it's going to decrease your muscle mass, that can impact your physique negatively. The other reason why this backfires, cutting your calories lower than your actual deficit, is because this can lead to binge eating tendencies. This could lead to feeling deprived. And if you're just having an emotional day, I see it all the time, and I've been there, this can cause the F it effect. Saying, F this is too difficult, it feels too depriving, I gotta have whatever, and then you eat the thing, and then you feel guilty. And then before you know it, you're completely off the rails. Sound familiar? So we don't want to just eat as little as possible. We want to eat the right amount of calories. If you're in a deficit, you should be losing weight. So don't make things worse by cutting calories even more just to speed up the results, because it's just not going to end well. I also want to say here that dieting too long is another issue. So what I mean by this is, you start cutting your calories, but you don't really have a plan for how long you're going to be doing this for. If you go into this blindly, that can be really overwhelming for one. It can feel like, oh my gosh, is this ever going to end? I see this again and again. You get a lot of back and forth whenever you're not giving yourself proper breaks from dieting. I see it a lot. You're constantly starting over on Monday, and then you're doing good for a few days. And then by Friday, you're saying, F it. You're saying, fuck this. And then you go out to eat, you go to happy hour all weekend long, you drink too much over the weekend, you're snacking all day, and then you do this again on Monday morning. It's a dangerous cycle. So instead of not having an end date and just being like, I'll stop when I get to my goal, be strategic about it. And here's the thing, you can change your mind and make tweaks, extend your fat loss. You can end the fat loss sooner, but you do need to have some kind of plan going into it. And let's talk about metabolic adaptation. So this can happen whenever you're cutting your calories too low for too long. What happens is that your metabolism will start to downregulate. So your body will adapt to that low caloric intake. And in turn, your body is actually going to move less. So here's the problem. Your metabolic rate will decline just slightly, but also your calorie expenditure is going to decrease. And this is whether you know it or not. This is very unconscious. This is exactly why if you're eating very low calorie, 1,000 calories, 1,200 calories, this could be exactly why you're not losing any weight, because your metabolism has slowed down a little bit. Your movement has declined. And really the only way that you can fix this is by cutting your calories more. And if your calories are already low, you might not want to do that, right? This is exactly why it's so important to have what I call phases when it comes to fat loss. So we want to make sure that we have an end date in mind. Sure, you could totally tweak that date. That's totally okay to do. But generally, I recommend fat loss phases be no more than 16 weeks. So yes, if you have a lot of weight to lose, that might mean that you're not going to lose all your weight in one swoop. And that's totally okay. And I actually think that's a smart way to do it. Now, if you're going to be stubborn and be like, no, I'm going to keep going until I get to my goal weight, totally fine. But what I would suggest is doing diet breaks in there, making sure that you have some days where you're eating at maintenance. Either whether that means that you do this for a week or two in the middle of your cut. It could be a longer term diet break if you are doing a longer fat loss phase. It can also be that you take a break, like just over a couple days on the weekend if you have a shorter cut. So those are a few ways that you can kind of work around that. But generally, I recommend a fat loss phase be around 8 to 16 weeks. So by doing this, you're going to be able to get your calories up to a higher point because you're going to be able to reverse diet after your fat loss phase and then move into maintenance to where you're roughly maintaining your weight loss. And this is really where the magic happens because at maintenance, you are maintaining your weight. You're going to be able to put on a little bit more muscle because your food is going to go up. Your movement more likely is going to go up. So maintenance is not a bad place to be. Maintenance, in fact, is a magical place to be. And I will also say that this is a very important skill because if you don't know how to maintain your weight loss, then more than likely you're going to be yo-yoing. So after your fat loss phase, it's so important to do either a reverse diet or just jump right back to eating at maintenance to where you are eating the amount of food that it takes to maintain your weight. Lots of great benefits. Generally, your hormones are going to be in a better spot as well with the increase in food. So don't think that fat loss is the only phase that you can be in. You can also be in maintenance, and this is so good for your hormones, so great for building muscle, and it's going to make your next fat loss phase so much easier. In fact, just to give you guys a quick update, I'm on week 5. I'm getting toward the end of week 5 and I'm 5 pounds down. And the reason why fat loss has been pretty easy for me this time around is because I was in this spot where I was eating 1,400 calories a day. I was not losing any more weight. In fact, I was losing muscle mass. I had no ass. I was losing curves and I was not happy with my physique. So I'm so happy that I spent the time to increase my food, to really focus on muscle building, even though it was scary as fuck. It was so scary, y'all. I'm not going to lie, but now that I'm on the other side of it, I'm like, that was not bad at all. And what's great, guys, like, yeah, I did a 2-year build phase, but honestly, I didn't need that long. And probably you don't either. So even just doing 3, 6 months at maintenance is going to benefit you so much from a hormonal standpoint. It's going to improve your metabolism. You're going to be able to get your calories up to a higher point. So that way, fat loss does not feel depriving. It's easy and you're going to be able to stick with it. And that's really been my success. So not trying to brag here, but I'm only 5'3", but I'm eating 1,700 calories a day and losing a pound a week. That is effing insane. Like, I cannot believe that. Like, that just seriously blows my mind. And the only reason I was able to do that was because I was like, you know what? I'm not losing any fat anyway. This is actually negatively impacting my physique by the loss of muscle mass. Like, there's no reason to keep going, right? And I know, y'all, it is such a mind fuck, but I'm telling you, doing this is going to increase your muscle mass. It's going to make you feel better. You're going to have more energy and it's going to put your hormones in a better spot. So that is number 2. Having phases with your body composition and making sure that you're not dropping your calories super low, but you're eating the right amount of calories. All right, my friend, we have one more Hormone-Smart shift for changing your physique in perimenopause, and that is eating carbs. Okay, full disclosure, if you scroll through this podcast far enough, you will see that I talked a lot about keto. Why? Because I did keto for about 3 years. And it was for a short amount of time, it was my niche. I was actually teaching other women how to live a keto lifestyle. And I will say the reason why I did it, one, I thought at the time that it was necessary for me to get lean and stay lean, like I talked about earlier in today's podcast. And to be quite honest, it actually did help me lose weight. And the reason is because when you eat a low carb diet, it can actually help you control hunger. That was something that was really helpful for me at the time. It did help me decrease my desire for highly palatable foods, but I actually discovered on accident not really too long ago. This was like less than a year ago. I realized that carbs were starting to creep in just naturally with time. I didn't have any like negative consequences from adding carbs into my diet. But what I also noticed was that I would notice pump in my muscles. So meaning I noticed that my glutes look fuller and rounder. And I was also noticing more muscle growth month after month by adding more carbs in. So, especially if you're an active perimenopausal woman who wants to have some muscle tone, who wants to look lean and toned and sculpted, I highly recommend carbs. I've done both, and I will say that there is benefits to both, but if you want to look lean and toned, if you're physically active, if you want to have good energy and performance in the gym, and even if you just want to have more energy in general, I know for me, that's been a big perimenopausal symptom for me is that decline in energy. I do recommend carbs now. Some of the carbs I recommend, I like potatoes. I love rice, especially jasmine rice is so good. I've been eating so much of that right now. Those are really my top. I do eat some bread products. I love sourdough bread. And I also love things like oats. I love my egg white oats that I have in the morning. Right now, I've been making apple pie oats with chopped apple, pecan, and apple pie spice. Oh my God, y'all, it's so effing good. But yeah, I definitely have seen not only more muscle growth by adding carbs, but I also have more energy in the gym. And I think that's what is maybe translating to more muscle gains, maybe part of it. So yeah, I was so scared to add carbs in. I had no idea after being like, I was strict keto for a long time. I was really scared to add it. But like I said, I am doing a cut right now with carbs and I'm losing a pound a week. And to be quite honest, I don't have a lot of weight to lose. So the fact that I'm losing a pound a week, that is amazing. And that is with eating carbs. I'm eating bread, I'm eating pasta. I mean, all of those things, but what I'm doing is making sure I'm tracking my food accurately. I'm weighing everything and I'm thinking about all the little things that I kind of forgot in my build, like cooking spray and olive oil, things like my supplement that is 40 calories a day that I did not track for a very long time. What else? Half and half. Yeah, my tablespoon that I was putting in my coffee was like 2 tablespoons. So yeah, now that I am in fat loss mode, I definitely have been tightening up my own tracking. But yeah, I am doing this with carbs. I'm averaging around 120 to 150 grams of carbs a day, which is insane because I used to eat like 20 to 50 grams of carbs a day. So yeah, just know because here's the thing, y'all. There's so much keto out there for menopausal and perimenopausal women. And I just want to share my experience as a 44-year-old perimenopausal woman myself. I've been on both sides. I've done carbs, I've done no carbs. And yeah, they both have benefits. But I do think that if you're an active woman, if you're dealing with energy tanks, whether that is just on a day-to-day basis or in the gym, that adding carbs and being strategic with them can be a very good thing. And carbs are very hormone friendly and smart as long as you are consuming mostly the non-processed kind. So more carbs that are from the earth, like potatoes and things like that. All right, ladies, that is it for today. Make sure that you join the free 5-day Lean Physique Challenge that is coming up on October 6th. I'll be sharing with you my Lean Physique framework for changing your body in perimenopause. So if you have a muscle building goal or a weight loss goal, this is for you. And not only is this for changing your physique, but it's also just feeling better. I don't know about you, but perimenopause has been a bitch. And I will say right now that if you are not taking action, perimenopause will be even bigger of a bitch. All right. There's so much that we can change with lifestyle. I know for a lot of us, and hey, trust me, I get frustrated too. I don't know about you, but I've been experiencing decreased sleep quality, also things like brain fog and just general dips in energy, like just feeling drowsy during the day and wiped out. So I just want to end with this. Perimenopause does not just impact your physique. It impacts how you feel on a daily basis. And we need to remember that this has a ripple effect. not only does it impact the way you feel, but how you feel. If you feel like garbage day in, day out because you're not getting restful sleep, you don't have any energy because you're not being consistent with weight training, you're sedentary. So that can affect your mood as well. But we have to remember the ripple effect of how this translates into our relationships with our loved ones, our work performance. All of these things can impact your entire life. So this isn't just about changing your physique. This isn't just about getting lean and building more muscle. This is about your life. This is about having a good quality life where you can keep up with your kids, keep up with your grandkids, go do active things with the family, not lash out at your husband or your wife or your kids. When you start to make these lifestyle shifts, you become a better mom, you become a better employee, you become a better person in general. And that feels good. And not only are other people going to notice, you are going to feel it here. So thanks so much for being here. Sign up for the free 5-day Lean Physique Challenge. We start October 6th, so make sure that you reserve your spot. I'm also going to put the link to join my closed Facebook group, Lean and Strong and Perimenopause. I would love to have you be a part of our Facebook community. And one more thing, if you're enjoying this podcast, please do me a favor and give me a 5-star review. Reviewing my podcast really does make a big difference in the message I'm trying to get out here. When you review my podcast, it gets pushed out into the logarithm so more women that need to hear this can find me. All right, ladies, that is it for now, and I will see you in the next episode.